come. We understand that we are glad and should be able to know additional video about the course that I tag on after the content's done for the day. Okay, here we go. So we have Mars going into the opposition with. Now let's watch how this is going to develop. So once we get to within 3 degrees, it's game on. And that's when you're really going to start noticing things. It's about October 25th. And then we have, here is the 31st, Halloween, little interesting signature for Halloween. And then we have Friday, November 1st, Saturday, November 2nd, and, oops, sorry, shifted houses here. And then you can really see it perfecting Sunday, November 3rd. So Sunday, November 3rd is when that transit is exactly opposite. And then we're going to see Mars move into the sign of Leo the next day. At which point then it's election time, by the way, so it's interesting to see this happening right before the election. I'm not sure we have those October surprises that are part of the politics in the United States, and I am not would not be surprised to see this correlating with some big drama right before the election. Anyhow, Mars opposite Pluto is about confrontation with dark, subterranean, transformative forces. Often it is about the eruption of pent-up energy, and there are violent purgatorial discharges. There is a sense of almost like there's a long history of nuclear events associated with Mars-Pluto. Not that I'm predicting anything like that necessarily, but Mars opposite Pluto is often associated with things that come up that we have to confront or deal with that are dark or heavy or very emotional and intense, and it is not easy. And there can be like big expressions of emotion with Mars in Cancer opposite Pluto in Capricorn. The dealing with or facing or confronting of intense family karma, the energies of events in the family that have history that are somehow coming to a head. There's also a sense of having to confront or face and survive or work through intensity and crisis that often comes up under Mars opposite Pluto. Also, just eruptive conflicts that you'd rather not deal with, and how do we handle conflicts or power struggles? You know, those are also Mars-Pluto dynamics. Well, we're going to be speaking a lot more about Mars-Pluto as we get closer to that transit. So for today, what I want to do, after just kind of briefly, you know, bringing Mars-Pluto into our awareness, is to look at the house placements by horoscope. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the chart on the screen, and I'm going to move. Let's get Mars back into a little opposition here. And we're going to put Aries on the ascendant, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the house placements. So if you are an Aries rising, this will apply to you, and then every sign afterward I'll go in order, and I'm just going to talk about the dichotomy between the houses briefly so that you have some awareness of where this very strong energy is expressing itself in your chart. I recommend listening to your rising sign because that will correspond with the whole sign house placements of your birth chart, which means this is where the actual transits are happening in your birth chart by whole sign houses in rising sign fashion. So, in other words, if you use a modern quadrant-based house system like Placidus or something else, you know, your chart may not be perfectly aligned with this, but it will be the closest if you use whole sign houses, which of course I teach and use in my practice. So for me, you know, this is where you'll find it in your whole sign house chart. That is the oldest version of house system that we have, and the house system still used in India today. So I recommend people, you know, take a look at your whole sign house placements anyway. But so you could also listen for your sun sign if you prefer listening to sun sign horoscopes every month. It's really up to you. Anyway, let's now take a look. So Mars opposite Pluto, and I'm just going to draw the arrows kind of both ways. For Aries, it's across the 10th and the 4th house, which will activate across the house associated with work, profession, trade, craft, mastery, notoriety, public reputation in the 10th house, and home, family, roots, foundations, the living environment, your home or property in the 4th house. This can mean that there is a pretty strong split between things and personal transfer. This week retrogrades in the 1st house. All right, let's go on to Leo. So for Leo, we see this transit across the 6th and 12th houses. These are very powerful houses that often speak to some of the more difficult things we carry. This, in other words, points to a moment of pretty significant personal transformation. We say that because Mars is also going to enter your 1st house, where it will turn retrograde in not too long from now. Well, it's like into December. It turns retrograde, and then all of a sudden, we are looking at a process of personal revision and of sometimes a deepening of how you relate to or utilize willpower and courage and determination and assertiveness. If you need to chill out on those things because you're overly aggressive, assertive, bossy, domineering, you might be getting some feedback that you need to make room for other people. On the other hand, it could be that you need to be more assertive and brave, and you'll find that there will be reason or cause to do so. And that all might be getting started right now into this transit. The idea that there is a kind of crucible or confrontation with difficult forces, difficult people, need for big emotional breakthroughs is indicated by this opposition in the 6th and the 12th, especially given that Mars is then going to enter your 1st house and turn retrograde. So the things you are confronting from unconscious spaces that come up right now will be a continued part of personal growth and evolution in the next couple of months. All right, let's go forward to Virgo, where we see Mars and Pluto across the 5th and 11th houses. So with these two placements, we're looking at the house that is all about groups and allies, friends and benefactors, our aspirations, and the people or resources we connect with that aid us in the successful completion of our goals, of our ambitions and dreams. And then we have the 5th house, which is about personal creative fulfillment and happiness, and just that general feeling of being satisfied and finding happiness and pleasure and creative fulfillment. Let's go on to Sagittarius. So for Sagittarius, just like Gemini, we've got these two planets across the 2nd and 8th. I look at this as a time where the potential for emotional coercion or manipulation in relationships with what is owed or what you feel obligated to, how you feel obligated to other people, and also what other people hold over you is going through. You're having to face something right now. Like if someone's taking advantage of you, this is the time where you say no more. If someone is trying to use you or is trying to coerce or manipulate somehow emotionally and take something from you, this is where you have to say no. On the other hand, you may have to look at yourself in the mirror if you are someone who has been maybe taking advantage of someone or not recognizing or honoring the extent to which someone has played an important role in your life, and it might be a time to give back, not just out of guilt, but to make it right, to make things whole, and to make things reciprocal. But the give and take, the exchange of value and energy and love is being explored here, and if there are things that have been very unequal and unfair, you will certainly be looking at those things right now. So also just a point of transformation around things like money and finances. Now for Capricorns, we are looking at the placement of Mars and Pluto across the 1st and the 7th again. And now we're talking about the potential for some...
Does little wall ride up? Wall ride. Pole jam. What are you, stupid ninja lifestyle? You can't even name the tricks?
Okay, everybody, here we go. It's me, Greg Manarino. Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. Pre-market report, no tie. Stepping out of Babylon just a little bit again, as I did yesterday. Anyway, look, man, let's focus on what's happening here. It's just too obvious what we're seeing, and there's, to say the least, multiple issues at multiple levels. Let's start off with this. The market is a fickle thing, and it appears to be pricing in another Trump presidency, and I want to talk about that a little bit. But before we even go there, let's talk about another phenomenon that you and I said would happen, and it is. It's an incredible thing. If you recall, when this whole thing started with the Federal Reserve getting into the market, this started back in June. Back in June, right under everyone's noses, right in everyone's face, the Federal Reserve began a new quantitative easing program. I mean, they can hide things like this right in your face. We witnessed a massive debt buying campaign by the Federal Reserve. Not just that, but they got into yield curve control, reshaping the entire yield curve. We watched bond yields crater. We watched interest rates drop, but the Fed wasn't cutting rates. No. You can't make it up, but that's exactly what was going on. Now, with that said, we outlined how we would see a multiples expansion cycle begin, and that's exactly what we're witnessing. It's created. Look, you want to talk about a big, fat, ugly bubble? Do you remember that? Prior to Donald Trump's first presidency, he said the stock market was a big, fat, ugly bubble. It all changed, of course, when he got the seat behind the resolute destiny. Wanted it higher and higher and higher, wanted negative rates, called for negative rates, weak currency, was playing right into the Fed's plan then, and the market took off. Multiples expansion. We're seeing that now, okay? Which means basically investors are willing to pay pretty much anything to own shares of stock. It's a game. It's a way that the Fed deliberately manipulates the market. Again, when the Fed gets in here and artificially suppresses rates and killing the currency along with it, it just opens up a door for cash to make its way into the stock market. Henceforth, why record, and we are not done with regard to record highs for this market. Now, that also means other assets are on sale. You know that. Commodities across the board. Cryptocurrencies as well. And we have to talk more about cryptocurrency in just a little bit. Now, this mechanism here of multiples expansion has now created, and I want to show you this, what I believe, and you know, it's just in your face, the biggest, most massively distorted market in the history of mankind. It's a bubble on every level. Now, this is David Einhorn. I want to read this to you a little bit. This is Market Watch. So Einhorn says it's the most expensive stock market since at least 1996. David Einhorn, multi-billionaire hedge fund manager, said in a recent interview that the stock market is the most expensive that he's seen since at least 1996. Now, hold on a minute here. Einhorn is wrong in one aspect. This market is the most expensive in history. It is the biggest bubble in history. Does this mean that this thing's going to crash anytime soon? Because I know, again, this was the month, right here and now, that we were supposed to crash. We hear the same thing every year. Octoberphobia can't happen with what the Fed's doing here right now. They're buying it all. They will not allow the market to drop in any significant way prior to the selection. You all know that. Look, there's no connection at all, and you know this, between the economy and the market. I mean, the worse off, and you know this, again, that the economy gets, the higher the market's going to go. Because why? It's the same two factors, and there's just two factors which are driving the market higher, which are killing the economy. You all know what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway, because we're getting a lot of new people here. Artificially suppressed rates, which means obviously a weaker currency, are massively stock market positive, but they're massively negative for the economy. Period. But no one's going to tell you that. You're not allowed to know this kind of stuff, but it does help the Fed fulfill their goal. Period. The end. We don't matter anymore. We're a means to an end, and you all know that. Now, on the back of that, speaking about economic news, how about this one for you? Weekly mortgage demand tanks 17%. People can't survive. They're tapping into their investment plans, their 401ks, declaring a state of emergency. They can't survive. Look, people, I'm going to tell you again what I've been telling you for the longest time here. It's not just the world economy that is cratering at its fastest pace on record. This is, again, a byproduct, or should I say a side effect, of central bank monetary policy. Inflation is a product of monetary policy. It's not any president's fault. When you hear the blame game, well, it's Trump's fault because he borrowed more into existence, or at least helped the Fed, more than any other president in U.S. history. It's not Trump's fault. Biden, oh, it's Biden's fault why we're seeing inflation. These are people that have no idea or clue. They're clueless as to a president doesn't have that power. A president can't stop or create inflation, although Trump is saying that right now. If he gets selected or elected, he's going to stop inflation in its tracks. That's what he said. It's a lie. You know it's a lie. No one's going to call him out. Not any one of his followers, of course, because I don't know why. There's no accountability anymore. This is how they can get away with whatever they want these days here. No one's going to call out Kamala either. It's just the way it is. It's a divide and conquer mechanism. You all know that. We cannot elicit change anywhere because we can't come together because we've been divided. We've been puppetized. The population has been turned into zombies. Honestly, the zombie apocalypse is real, and you're witnessing it right now. Anyway, now with regard to the market here, and look, this multiple expansion cycle, that we're the most expensive market in history. We got this, people. I'm going back to my MMRI, which is free to you and everybody else. Look at this downtrend. Are you watching the 10-year yield this morning? It's down to around 4%. It was 4.11 recently. This is the Fed. They're buying all the debt. A rebalancing had been going on here. That's why we're witnessing this rising in the 10-year yield, this sell-off in the debt market. Cash getting ready to make its way into the stock market. That, yes, is just the biggest bubble in the history of mankind right now. It's going to change. This is going to change, but not anytime soon. After this election, people, I'm telling you right here and now, we got to reevaluate. And we will. But what do we know is going to happen here? Look, if you believe that debt is not going to hyper balloon from here, and you think that this puppet is going to change it, or this puppet is going to change it, well, then you've been brainwashed. Obviously to a degree that your parents never could have imagined that you would turn into such a zombie. It's impossible, but that's where we're going. Hyper debt is going to push the market higher until it doesn't. And again, we have this. Look at this downtrend. Yes, we broke out above, but look, we've re-entered this screaming downtrend here. Now, look what's happening. Look a little closer. It's starting to wane off here. Just so you... And there's look, right. Anyway, I'm more of a big picture guy. This is what I like to focus on. You all know that. So this means, again, we buy it all. Every dip that comes along. Commodities on sale and cryptocurrency. Hold that thought. Let's talk about cryptos a little bit. All right, so, let's start off with this. So this is Forbes with Donald Trump's his new coin here, which at first was selling like hotcakes, kind of waned off towards the end of the day. But there's a reason for that. We're going to talk in a moment. So anyway, Forbes, Donald Trump declares crypto the future. Unfortunately, crypto, blockchain, a tokenized system is where we're going, man. Don't you like this digital rendition of him? This is one of his NFTs, by the way, with the B right there, Bitcoin. What did I write here? Oh, the initial offering of this yesterday, again, it sold pretty profoundly initially, then it kind of waned off. But why? The demand was so great for Trump's crypto token here, the website wasn't able to deal with it. It shut down several times. But apparently this is going to be fixed. And obviously, this initial offering to only accredited investors, and that bothers Greg Manorino. It really, really does. Because again, the initial investors in anything, especially something like this, they're gonna make out like bandits. Then when offered to the public, like 20 billion of these coins, then of course, the public always gets holding the bag. But it's always the initial people. And what still bothers me about this is Trump nor his family are disclosing how much they own of Trump coin. And of course that means they're going to make out like bandits as well. It's theft here. Let's just call it what it is. Now look, let's look at what's happening here to cryptocurrencies across the board. Bitcoin, this is again the Trump effect in my view. Off of the back of this. And again, look, cryptocurrencies, people, are going much, much higher. Much, much higher. You all know that. We haven't seen anything yet. I did an interview yesterday with Corey Costas. I hope you got to see it. We talked about a lot of this stuff. With regard to commodities, people, you already know my take on this. We are going to get a 1-to-1 ratio with the Dow gold at one point. Where's the bottom of the Dow? We don't know. I say the bottom of the Dow is somewhere around 8,000. 8,000. That's how dramatic the eventual crash of the stock market is going to be. But it's not going to begin or end in the stock market. You know that. It's going to begin and end in the debt market, which is the driver of this entire thing. We're on the same page here. A 1-to-1 gold, Dow. I think this is just a lock. Okay. And what that means for silver, at least at a minimum, a 15-to-1 gold. So just do your own math here. You can see what I'm talking about. And all this is a movement of cash through the markets. You know this. Cash moves through the markets in predictable patterns, and a lot of this is going to go into cryptocurrency. It is going to go into cryptocurrency. Now, this market right now, very fickle, in my opinion, is pricing in another Trump president. Doesn't mean it's right now. It's pricing it in. And how do we know that? Again, on the back of this, cryptocurrency now catching a bid pretty strongly across the board. Here's the other clue right here. Donald J. Trump stock. This thing was in free fall. Free fall. Recently trading at about 12 bucks. It's now at about $27. I said from a while back, well, first of all, this is a $9 stock. It's $27 right now. It's a $9 stock by any metric you want to look at, period. But I said there were two reasons, to own DJT stock. Number one would be if you believe that Trump is going to be selected. Then, of course, this is going to take off. Number two, if you believe that, and this was a rumor going around for a while, that Elon Musk was going to buy it. Those were the only two reasons. Now, it appears that, again, we watched Donald J. Trump's stock go from 12 bucks, what did I write here? 12 bucks to $27 in a very short period of time. If Trump is selected, and it looks like the market's pricing it in based on the performance of his stock, looking at cryptocurrency here, and of course, Trump declaring that cryptocurrency tokens are the future. Again, not constitutional money. It's crypto, playing right into the Federal Reserve's plan here to institute a tokenized system. You all know that. Anyway, so let's step back again. How will the market perform under another Trump presidency? First of all, Trump or Kamala are going to help the Fed fulfill their goal. We all know that. They're selling you the Fed's plan now and promising lower rates. Period. That means vast debt expansion. Vast debt expansion. Of course, you know how this works. The more debt a central bank can issue or is called on to issue, the stronger they become, the weaker we become. The solutions are simple. The polar opposite of what the Fed is doing right now. That is, we do not need lower rates, even though Kamala and Trump are promising us this, which of course means a weaker currency. These are the last things we need. This is the last thing we need too. We do not need another crypto added to the batch that already exists. But again, this is a way for Trump and his family and the accredited investors to make $1 gazillion off of the unknowing. I think it's a terrible investment. That's just my take. And I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't buy this stuff anyway. I am not going to change my perspective on cryptocurrencies. You all know that. I look at the market cap of crypto right now. It's just so thinly held. And again, the entire value of the space is about one Dow component. So that's how I look at it. Anyway, look, man, this is just too simple. But the market now, pricing in the Trump presidency, it may change. Doesn't mean this is going to happen. This was when Biden was running. When Creature 1, Biden, was running against Creature 2, Trump, it was a lock. Trump could not be not selected in this environment. Then when he got up against when Creature 1, Biden dropped out, the market didn't know what, and even me. I know that a lot of guys, including Joe Salente, believe Kamala is going to be selected here. I'm looking for clues in the market here, and I can't say one way or the other because the market is a freaky thing to try to read. It really is. Understanding the flow of cash through the market couldn't possibly be easier. But when you see movements like this in the market with regard to cryptocurrency, especially in Donald J. Trump stock, Donald J. Trump stock, to me, is an indicator of where the market believes who's going to be selected. Again, this was cratering to the floor on its way to my $9 target. $12 is where it was. Then all of a sudden the market said, hold on a minute. It looks like Trump may be selected here. Let's start buying. Only two reasons to own this stock. It's a dog. It's a dog of Wall Street. It's a laughing stock of Wall Street, to be honest with you. But again, there are those who believe Trump is going to be selected. That's the number one reason to own the stock, DJT. Number two, if Musk would buy it, the soon-to-be trillionaire, ultra super elite, but he's on your side. He's being put in Trump's cabinet so he could cut government waste. No. The AI expert of the world is being put there. Is Trump's right-hand man to be the government waste czar? No. Is to help usher in the tokenized system, because it's the future. Anyway, man, that's where we're at. So we'll see where this goes. We only got a couple of weeks for the selection. Doesn't matter to me. From a market standpoint, I would expect. Again, look, what do we know? We know Trump loves low rates. In fact, he wanted negative rates. You don't believe me? Look it up for yourself. Okay. Which means obviously a much weaker currency. Massively positive for the stock market. Massively destructive for the economy. But the illusion of the market would be rah, rah, rah. Look at the stock market. The economy must be strong. We're all rich. Remember these kinds of things that were coming out of its mouth then? Trump, Kamala's in it too. You all know that. Look, people, my job is to keep you ahead of the curve. And I think I'm doing a damn good job at that. So what we're going to do is forget whatever camp you may have been placed in, you've been brainwashed into. I'm in the red side, I'm in the blue side. We should be on our own side. You understand? So what we need to do is understand the system is being obviously weaponized against us, but we can turn those tables. For every strategy, there is a counter strategy. Our strategy is not going to change. We're going to buy every dip in this market. We're going to load up on commodities, and yes, cryptocurrencies. Period. With regard to cryptos, I think the crypto space would perform better under a Trump selection than a Kamala selection here. Forget about everything else. Just talk about the backbone of the system, which is the financial system, which is not run by presidents. It's run by central banks. But they're going to try to convince you that they're going to stop inflation in its tracks. That's what Trump said yesterday. And the joke is on you. He thinks you're stupid. I know you're not stupid. I know how smart you all are. Good. Take advantage of that. If he thinks you're dumb, let's play dumb. You know what I mean? And let's just turn the tables on the whole damn thing. Because that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing. And that's exactly what you're going to do too. Because you are one of my lions, which means I will take care of you. You understand? All right, look, man, we're gonna end this here. So that's the way I see it. I want to hear from you on all this stuff. Look at this head. Look at this. This is how strong our economy is. We're being wrecked. We are being wrecked. And be very careful with Boeing, people. Very, very careful here. All right. I want to hear from you. What do you think about what we've discussed here?
The world is brimming with mysterious artifacts that spark both fascination and debate. strange objects that seem crafted for fantasy novels.
Hello everybody, this is Gerald Salenti, and it's Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. Very shortly, New Trends Journal will be coming out. And here's the cover. You got it? October surprise. False flag coming. Yep. Get ready. It's coming. Time is right. What's going on geopolitically, economically, in the presidential reality show. That's right. Keep his mind off everything except the false flag. The Russians hacked our banking system. Oh, they bombed and killed. They'll make up something in the run-up to the election. Will it happen? Yeah. Most likely. On to the markets. The Dow was down today about 325 points. The S&P fell 0.76%, and the Nasdaq was down about 1%. How come? Because there's a global slowdown going on, and that is a big part of our economic update. Look at the data coming out of China. Look what's going on over in Germany. It's in a recession. The second largest economy, China, is going down. All that fake money that they pumped into it and boosted the stock markets up, and now they're down from when they hit a high around October 6th and 7th. And in the third largest economy in the world, the largest in Europe, Germany. They're in recession. Basically. Technically. Not all the data's out, but that's where it is. So there's a serious slowdown going on. And you saw what happened with oil prices. You know, overall, Brent crude went down almost 4% today. Why? Well, Netanyahu told the United States we won't bomb a Iranian nuclear facility or an oil field. What are you kidding me? Oh, you're going to believe Netanyahu? But look how low oil prices are. Why? Because the data coming out of China, who is the world's largest importer of oil. It stinks. And all this phony money that they pumped in to pump up their stock markets, the Hang Seng ain't hanging very high. One index after another, that was a phony boost. So again, you detail it very, very thoroughly in your economic update about what's going on and what you might want to do. And gold prices, I got to get the numbers right. I mix up the numbers sometimes. I was never good at numbers. I failed algebra. They made me go to summer school. I failed it again. So I got what they called in New York. I didn't get an academic diploma. I only got a general diploma. I got left back in the 5th grade. I barely got out of high school. I hated every day of school. Government school, as Judge Andrew Napolitano calls it. Anyway, gold was up $13 today. $2,662. And when we made the trend forecast, a golden year for gold was $2,041 an ounce, up over $620 an ounce. And that's why you subscribe to the Trends Journal. We're giving you what nobody else is. Oh, BBC just announced they're cutting up 100 people. There's no journalism. It's all gone, all dead. Oh, they just did away with Sputnik. That's right. Biden administration closed them down. Free speech, F you. Again, like them, dislike them. As trend forecasters, they say, you know, the Israel war going on. We subscribe to Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper. We pay for it. Don't have to pay to go to Jerusalem Post in Times of Israel, but we go there too. And we go to Al Jazeera to get in Arab news, to get what the Arabs are saying, and others. Middle East Monitor, Middle East Eye. Oh, and then we go to Press TV, IRNA, ISNA, and Tehran Times to hear what the Iranians are saying. Oh, and we go to Russia Today, and we used to go to Sputnik, but no more. You need to know what everybody's saying, and then you make your forecasts. This is what they're saying. This is the way we analyze it, and this is where we see it going. But they're killing. So listen, if you want to keep the truth going, support the Trends Journal. You know, we're very thankful for all the subscribers that we have. But, you know, considering how many people are viewing this and how many subscribe to this channel, and you look at the comments from the people that subscribe to it on YouTube, there's nothing like it in the world. Nothing. And don't forget that subscribe button. So, you know, they keep shadow banning us, so we got to get out there. Because we're giving what nobody else is. So going back, you know, you're looking at some of the headlines, and this just came out from Times of Israel. U.S. gives Israel 30 days to address Gaza aid crisis. Threatens to curb weapons supply. How's that for total fucking 30 days? The people are suffering in front of your eyes, and you're going to keep giving them weapons to keep slaughtering the people? What, are you kidding me? Of course we're kidding you. Don't you remember all the shit spewing out of the mouth of the little fucking arrogant daddy's boy? Blinken? Oh yeah, the Blinken guy that plays the guitar when he goes to visit the piano player who plays the piano with his penis, Zelensky. Yo, that guy? About all the bullshit of a ceasefire's coming. Oh, now they don't talk about that anymore. 30 days? This is going on over a year. These people are homeless. Everything they own is bombed to ruins. But we'll keep giving you the weapons to keep the killing spree going, though. Don't worry about it. Anyway, on to your Trends Journal. Again, this thing's going to keep ramping up. And the bullshit that Netanyahu's not going to attack Iran and oil prices aren't going up. Again, and if you believe Biden, you believe Netanyahu, yeah. Then Moses came down with 10 Commandments. So if you believe any cartoon you want. Again, the economic update, it's so important what's going on. And again, you're looking at the markets. The Hang Seng today plunged 4%. China's CSI 300 almost 3%. It's down. That one's down 9% from the phony October 8th high. That's what we're mentioning. These things are artificially boosted. And then again, when you look at the S&P 500, 3 companies, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, own 88% of it. And then you put the whole number together. The 1% now own 54% of all the equity markets, the richest people, the 1%. The top 10% in America own, when you put it all together, 93% of the equity markets. I'm mentioning it's a rigged game. Wall Street has zero to do with Main Street. So, that's what we got here. There was an article, this guy, Commerce Bank, said oil prices, gold prices have plateaued. Oh, did they make a forecast for the top trends of 2024? It'll be a golden year for gold. Gold has not peaked. And I have to tell you, there hasn't been a sharp downturn. It may come, but being that it's gone up this long without a downward pitch, it's very significant. And again, I've been at this a lot of years. I began buying gold in the late 1970s. I never saw it go up like this and stay high. So yeah, it's going to come down, but we see a much higher level because they're going to keep lowering interest rates. And the lower the interest rates go, the deeper the dollar falls. The deeper the dollar falls, the higher gold prices go, plus all of the geopolitical instability. So it's number one safe haven. And what else do we have here? Half of Americans unable to pay basic bills on time as consumer confidence keeps slumping. And again, you look at the data, it's all there. Again, trends on the global economic front, what's going on with China, what's going on in Europe, German steelmakers, Volkswagen. Again, not only is this year going to be a down year for Germany, next year is going to be another year for recession as we see it. Israel sends thousands of troops into Lebanon as Netanyahu escalates war. So as Netanyahu came out and said that they're not going to attack Iran's oil fields, we heard from that guy Gallant, who's the IDF head, saying that there's going to be a deadly, pinpoint, accurate, and surprising attack on Iran. This is serious. Again, Iran is a very advanced military. Don't believe the that you hear from the prostitute media. There are 91 million Iranians versus 9 million Israelis, 20% of which, by the way, are Arab. So again, I'm not great at math, but to figure that one out, Persians are an advanced society. And they got thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of drones and missiles, probably hundreds of thousands. And they're not going to be able to knock them all out. And again, our greatest fear is nuclear war, the Samson option, that Israel goes nuclear if they lose. What else? Iran's president criticizes U.S., Europe for unconditional support for Israel. So read it and you decide. You decide what he says, is it accurate or inaccurate? Israel targets peacekeepers in Lebanon. Yep. Do anything they want, now they're telling them to leave. And they're saying they're not going to. Iran says it will continue to support Lebanon and resistance movement. And Israel says they're going to keep bombing. So again, look at what's going on, analyze it as we read our analysis and our trend forecasts, and you can see where this is going. Palestinians burned alive in tent camp outside Al-Aqsa Hospital. Well, we're going to wait 30 days, and you better give them more aid, or else we're going to cut off our weapons. That's the fucking from the United States government. And again, Trump or Harris, it's pro-Israel on either side. And what else do we have here? A featured guest article by Phil Giraldi. You ready for this? Who is in charge of U.S. foreign policy? You gotta read this. He makes it clear. It's not we the people. We're just plantation workers of Slavelandia. You got it? Featured guest article by John and Nisha Whitehead. Disinformation isn't the problem. Government cover-ups and censorship are the problem. You got it. And featured guest, this is a really important one. by Dr. Joseph Mercola, The Hidden History of Our Modern Food System. How big tobacco shapes what we eat. Oh, this is funny. PepsiCo's sales were down, and here is more total horseshit from the guy running the show. By the way, I did work for Pepsi back in the day. They used to hire me for trends. And they're saying that the sales are down because people are eating more healthy. Who the fuck are you talking to? The obesity rates are off the charts. You look at where this country's going. As I said, you don't have the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus went out of business. You don't have to step right up, and see the freak show. All you gotta do is look outside. They're walking up and down the street everywhere. Now, people aren't eating healthier. The sales are going down because people have less dough. Got it? And there is no market to Trends in the Markets by Gregory Mannarino. This guy knows a lot more about the markets than I do. He's a pro in it. Trends in Technocracy by Joe Duran. And again, he's the technocracy man. And there's just a couple of his books here. Some number of them. Yeah. The Synthetic Devolution. You get this on Amazon. Be Human, one after another. We're giving you in Technocracy the sad details of what's going forward over here. Trends in cryptos, trends in geopolitics. Outgoing Russian ambassador to U.S. warns of nuclear confrontation. That's right. Hey, but did Taylor Swift get laid last night? I mean, that's the news. Presidential reality show. Warmonger Harris identifies Iran as U.S. top adversary. Didn't you know that? Aren't you all concerned about Iran? Oh my God. They taught us to hate Iran when they overthrew the Shah. Again, I wrote about it in my book, Trend Tracking, far better than Megatrends, Time Magazine. That's how I became a trend forecaster. They never talked about the United States overthrow of the President Mossadegh in 1953 and by rotten hell, Winston Churchill.
Oh no, what the goose right now. Here we go, what up, brother?
Look up to a warmongering little fuck. And Kermit Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt's grandson and great-grandson, that the CIA and the MI6 overthrew Mossadegh in 53 because the democratically elected president of Iran had the nerve, the gall to say, nah, that oil does not belong to Anglo-Iranian oil, better known today as BP, or Standard Oil, better known today as ExxonMobil. It belongs to the Iranian people. No, it belongs to us, the UK and the US. Like I say, you think we would have invaded Iraq if their major export was broccoli? You think we're in Syria? Oh, we're getting ISIS? No, we're stealing the oil on the eastern coast of Syria. One after another. It's all here. Adversaries, Lebanon, Iran. And Trends in AI by Ben Davis. AI, we own you. So there you got it. And don't forget tomorrow, Salenti and the Judge Andrew Napolitano. You're not going to want to miss it. There's nobody that knows more about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights than Judge Andrew Napolitano. If you know anybody, let me know. And how they're robbing us, and we get writing about it in the magazine, of our life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And remember, look at the cover of your Trends Journal. You better get ready for that October surprise. False flag coming right around the corner. See you tomorrow. Hello, everybody. This is Gerald Salenti with Judge Andrew Napolitano on this Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. And it's a true honor. There are so few of us out there that are fighting for freedom, peace, and justice. And when it comes to the facts, and now it's fact you, we don't have to know about the facts. You just got to swallow our crap with the government. No one knows about the facts of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights more than Judge Andrew Napolitano. If you can find anybody, let me know. Because it's certainly not these Supreme Court judges. What's Supreme? Low-life pieces of junk. And they're robbing us of our freedom day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And Judge, you have a new article that's coming out tomorrow. The government compels silence again. When Congress enacted, I love this name, the Stored Communications Act of 1986, it claimed the statute would guarantee the privacy of digital data that service providers were retaining in storage. The act prohibited the providers from sharing the stored data, and it prohibited unauthorized access to the data, commonly called computer hacking, except, of course, if the recipients or the hackers were working for the federal government.
No, you can't make this up. The Congress, and I'll tell you why I'm raising this now. This happened in 1986. The Congress established a new standard for judges to issue orders, not search warrants, orders to computer service providers to empty the contents of what they have when the government needs them, and to prohibit the computer service provider from telling the person whose data is being stored that the feds have come calling. Before this, they would tell you, we got a subpoena, Mr. Salenti, for all of your emails. We're required to comply within 10 days, but we're going to wait 10 days because you have an opportunity to challenge. Congress did away with the opportunity to challenge and ordered silence. That's 1986. Fast forward to 2022, 2 years ago. X, formerly known as Twitter, receives an order for the contents of the cell phone of Donald J. Trump for his last month in office as president. They informed the owner of X, Elon Musk, who says, I better call him up and tell him. And they said, well, wait a minute. This subpoena was accompanied by an order of silence. We're not even supposed to tell you about it. So they comply with the subpoena, but they challenge the order for silence before the judge who issued. She rejects the challenge. They appeal that to a federal appellate court. They reject the challenge. They appealed that to the Supreme Court of the United States, which on Monday of this week, 2 days ago, rejected the challenge, thereby allowing the government to continue to get orders of silence. Now, you and I and our colleagues have talked for a long time, most recently at the unbelievable Peace and Freedom rally on your property in Kingston 10 days ago. But this is happening right under our noses. The Supreme Court of the United States, without an...
Yeah, that was a decent direct. There's no two ways about it. So much so that we might even do some kind of reaction video and chat through some of those releases, because there's quite a bit of history to talk about there. And it does not feel like an end-of-life Nintendo Direct. And I'm happy to say it because, honestly, things were looking quite quiet. So to be sat here about to do a performance review of one of my favourite games of all time, Perfect Dark, yes please, you can certainly get on board with that. I've also got a couple of tips in there about how to set this one up as good as it can be, and a little footage on the split screen multiplayer mode. Okay, Perfect Dark. Is it perfectly done, or a dark day for the Switch? Well, my name's Mark Walker. Welcome back to Switch Up. Now let's find out. First of all, in classic Nintendo style, you can't just go to the Nintendo 64 online app, download the game and play it as you would with the others. If you go to the N64 app, you're going to find that there's absolutely nothing there. Instead, Nintendo in classic Nintendo style have released a brand new app, so you can go to the eShop, download the N64 mature app, and then you'll be in business. Glenn lamented the fact that they didn't include Conker's Bad Fur Day, but we do have Perfect Dark and Turok. And I guess, of course, it goes without saying that you will need to have the Nintendo Online, including the add-on that gives you the N64 content. You won't need to buy anything else to get the mature stuff. So then we boot up Perfect Dark. Nostalgia kicks in, and we are greeted with, well, classic Perfect Dark, and it needs a bit of tweaking. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the series, Perfect Dark is a science fiction video game series created by Rare, but it's actually owned by Xbox Game Studios. I guess it's one more signal that they're willing to put their titles on other platforms, and obviously we had GoldenEye come before it. This one though features the main character Joanna Dark, and for many it was actually preferred over GoldenEye. Joanna's part of the Carrington Institute agency, and she's looking into a conspiracy about a rival corporation, from nefarious plots to extraterrestrial goings on, and it's up to you to find out what's happening. We do have the version of Perfect Dark that supports widescreen as well as HD resolution, and we'll go into exactly what that means. There is a little bit of setup when it comes to making the game control as well as it could. If you own an N64 controller, that's fantastic. You can use that and you're laughing. Obviously the Nintendo Switch one, or with the adapter. But for everyone else, you're going to want to do these next steps, otherwise it just feels bad to play. Grab yourself a Pro controller or similar and head down to the settings option of your Nintendo Switch. We're going to set up a custom control config. Now, if you set up the one from GoldenEye, then you can just use that. It will save you a lot of steps. But otherwise, you're going to set up a new profile. You're going to swap ZL for ZR and vice versa. And then you're going to go into the stick menus and swap the left stick for the right stick. From there, save it and go back into the game. Go into the options menu, into controls, and select 1.2 on the control set, and just below it there's an option called reverse pitch. That's just your y-axis. You want to click that so that up is up and down is down, unless you prefer it the old school way. That's it. You can go into game and it should feel much more modern in terms of those controls. So then the Switch version, well, as I say, this is an emulated release, but here's what we do have. In the visual options, you've got a high res mode, which slightly improves the in-game textures. The game by default will be set to 4:3 aspect ratio, but you can choose widescreen. You can also choose 16:9 to feel a modern TV. What you won't see are any improvements to things like text boxes. Lots of the UI runs at the old resolution, and as such it looks not the best, shall we say. Now that really isn't a huge issue for me. The game itself seems to be emulated near native resolution, I'm not entirely sure, and in single player it targets 30 frames per second, but just like we saw with the GoldenEye release, it doesn't actually maintain that all of the time. Doesn't really matter honestly, but as always there will be a few people that feel a little disappointed that Nintendo haven't done anything, but these are just intended to be played almost as they were originally. Now when you split the screen, well, you can choose either horizontal or vertical, and the frame rate does come down quite a bit. around about 19 frames per second. Gameplay-wise, Rare implemented many of the things they'd learned from making GoldenEye. You have individual missions that you can choose from. You've got the Carrington Academy, which is like a hub area that allows you to go training. And you've got a few different multiplayer modes. One of them's a traditional split screen where you're fighting against each other. But perhaps the most interesting sees one of you essentially Agent Smithing things up, spawning into the enemies and trying to take you down. It was very fun, and it's still as fun as it was back then. Single player, well, you have 3 different difficulty modes, very familiar if you play GoldenEye, and you'll have a set of different mission objectives to undertake. You can completely fail a mission if you accidentally put a bullet where you shouldn't, but these stages weren't as straightforward as the GoldenEye ones. There are times where you have to really look around to find where to go next, with hidden doorways and passages, and then you have the gadgets that were introduced. Ironically, she had much better gadgets than James Bond, one of them being a remote camera because some areas might be toxic. And then there are cool little touches like having to wait for this robot to move before you can get through the lasers. And just with its predecessor, there is a heavy emphasis on stealth. Here you can stand, crouch, or I believe go prone. Either that or she's really bending over very far. And when you're aiming down the sights, you can peek around the corner using the left stick. Headshots will be an instant kill, but most enemies will take a couple of shots to the body before you're greeted with those comical death animations, which I've got to say are still better than most first-person shooters. There are a variety of different weapons, from the standard silent pistol to automatic machine guns and assault rifles. They're much more futuristic than GoldenEye, and there is a good amount of auto-aim that you can switch off if you don't like it, but realistically with these controls I kind of needed it. Now the game is running, as I say, at 30 FPS, and in single player aiming's absolutely fine, although again 60 would have been preferable, but in multiplayer that drop is quite a stark reminder that this was an N64 title. Thankfully the co-op mode holds up quite well, and it's just as enjoyable as it was back then. And obviously you can use the Nintendo Online feature of being able to invite up to 4 friends, which you can then take into the game, so you can play multiplayer with people who aren't in the same room as you. That's very cool, and it's not actually something that I'd done before. It's nice to have it in there. Now in handheld, wow, it's playing Perfect Dark in handheld on a Nintendo Switch, isn't it? Just as I was with GoldenEye, it's such a nice way of playing. Of course you're going to want to tweak your controls to suit you, but still, just seeing it like this, everything looks nicer when it's squashed down to that screen, and just playing an absolute classic like this in handheld mode feels like a real win. It wasn't something I was expecting. When it comes to value, that's not something we can really cover in this review. It's either you own the Switch Online and the expansion pass, or you don't. Sadly, as with GoldenEye, you won't be able to purchase this separately, which is going to upset a few people. There are some games that I think Nintendo really should just put on the eShop and have it so that everyone can purchase them. And this is definitely one of them alongside GoldenEye. Man, imagine a physical double pack with those 2 in. Yes, please. But that's it. Let me know in the comments, are you going to be playing this one? I'm going to see if I can rustle up a few pals to play some of that counter-operative or whatever that mode was called. Man, good times, good times. What a cracking direct. We should have a roundup for you as well. So as always, just a big thanks to all of you that enjoy the content. Let us know down below. And as always, for all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!
Nintendo's history with emulation has been tumultuous, to put it lightly. From stamping out ROM websites to outright shuttering community emulation projects, Nintendo seemingly
Grazlu hating on it.
official approval. While this would be fine if the company regularly updated its online service with titles from its back catalog and provided them in the best possible quality, that's not the reality we live in. This was made clear last week when Nintendo launched a 17
Yeah, dude, like, don't be this guy with his fucking shitty
Switch.
controllers like
And
this.
the
Don't be
results,
this guy. I know you got the pro
well, they make
controller.
a strong case for the benefits of piracy. The 17 Plus N64 app launched with 2 games that are iconic to Nintendo's 5th generation console, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, and Perfect Dark. Neither is emulated particularly well, but Turok has a fantastic remaster available on every platform that is easily accessible. Perfect Dark, on the other hand, is limited to either the Xbox 360 remaster or the shoddy version Nintendo thought was fine enough for mass consumption. Now, I understand to the vast majority of people, playing older games isn't something they really want to do. A lot of people view video games as disposable entertainment, and I'm not trying to convince anyone they are wrong. I do think there are artistic merits to the design decisions made for older games on older hardware, but I understand that times have changed. Sometimes it could be hard to go back and re-experience an old game when the industry has changed so rapidly and you've likely grown as a person. I don't like the same stuff I did 24 years ago, for instance. That said, the way Perfect Dark has been dumped onto Switch Online without much care is truly infuriating. There's been a worrying trend for the past few generations that remakes are the only way older games can truly shine. While not everyone is on board with that mentality, Night Dive Studios is a perfect example of trying to
How has nobody already asked the question if you can play online like other people? Like, people do not want to play with other people at all, ever. I don't really blame them, but like, bro. How is that not the number one question? I guess we'll just have to find out, my dude. Like... Someone's gotta ask it in this one. Oh my god, man. Just tell me. Just tell me. These helmets are just so fucking retarded. They're just fucking so stupid. Most useless fucking compliment. Waste of space, waste of internet, waste of time. God damn. Sorry.
And without a dissent, not even by the libertarian Gorsuch or the progressive Sotomayor, they usually agree on civil liberties matters, allows these orders for silence to stand. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech, but will let them make a law prohibiting you from speaking. Now, this has nothing to do with Donald Trump and nothing to do with Elon Musk. It has to do with the fundamental human right that we have to say what we want. Musk was barred from telling Trump. In fact, Musk was ordered to file his challenge and file the appeal secretly under seal. The only reason we know about this is because when he filed it with the Supreme Court, they don't accept secret filings, so then it became public, but he still lost.
Again, this calling it a Supreme Court is
Oh, come on now. That ain't even bullshit. That's horseshit.
I don't know where he got that from.
What's Supreme Court? A bunch of people, bunch of low-life pieces of crap. And you talk about the government doing this, the government. It's not the... It's a bunch of low-life little boys and girls with bad attitudes. What government? And then this name, the Stored Communications Act. Stored Communications Act. And again, you're going back to 1986, and this is the beginning kind of the...
Yeah, buddy. Sorry.
Internet
I never said that, dude. I'm sorry if you thought I said that or you misunderstood. I know I mumble a lot. I know I have my podcast volume loud. It's hard to understand me. I appreciate you focusing on what I'm saying.
And you go on
I try to enunciate all the time.
That
I do have some face paralysis, though.
The Patriot Act.
Sorry, homie.
What
Like,
an
what up,
Orwellian name.
NFT? Oh my god.
Well, it's an acronym, and I
You see
I
Trump
don't
released a
remember what
coin?
the
A Trump
letter
coin?
stands for. It is the most
Did you buy it?
unpatriotic piece of legislation ever enacted
I'll
by
open that in a
Congress
second,
since the
one sec.
Alien and Sedition Acts of 1798 that made it a crime to criticize.
Are you gonna get Nintendo Switch Online, man?
Allows
What is it, like
one
50
FBI
bucks? It's kind of
agent
expensive,
to
eh?
authorize another
Are you gonna
FBI
get
agent
NSO to play N64?
search
I think for a year.
records, and it prohibits the recipient of
$50.
this self-authorized agent authorized search warrant called a national security letter from telling anybody about it. The famous case is an 86-year-old librarian.
I'd understand if you don't want to.
Bridgeport, Connecticut. Two young men walk into the library and say, "Hey, we're FBI agents. Here's a national security letter." She goes, "I don't know what you're talking about." She hands the letter to her colleague.
Keep
and
it
they say,
lit.
"Well, we're going to arrest the
Come
two
on,
of you
man.
because it's a crime to tell somebody that you received a national
Isn't
security
that one a
letter
piece of
you just
history?
told that other lady." The 86-year-old goes, "I don't know what you're talking about." The librarian, they filed a criminal case against
I wonder how much
the librarian sued
his
for the
suit,
right to
piece of suit would be from when he had the assassination attempt,
criminal
allegedly.
case was thrown out.
That suit would be worth a lot of money.
They can talk about
It's all
whatever they
fake.
want. Congress changed the Patriot Act to prohibit "Thou shalt not speak" part, but this stored community.
We were watching Mandarino earlier.
Still has the "Thou shalt
I don't know if you were
not speak,"
lurking.
and Congress still uses it. That's why I wrote about it. I was outraged that the court, and again, it has nothing to do with what you think of Musk or what you think of Trump. It has to do with what you think of the First Amendment. I was outraged that
Oh,
the
wow,
court
really?
didn't take the case.
Crazy.
Well, again, the First Amendment. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago.
Piece of
a little,
fucking
another,
suit.
again, you know, George Carlin. He used to say it's one big
People love
big
him, man.
brain
People
enemy.
love the man.
And a little arrogant boy of nothing. I was a Forbes fan.
Canvas pieces from WrestleMania? No way.
He comes out with the crap that
That would be
that
sick, though.
it stopped
I want a
us
piece of
from
canvas from
covering
WrestleMania.
because of allowing
I'm
free speech.
already
We have to
interested in it.
basically stop.
And
I'm already
I'm not
interested in
making
that.
up.
no, you're not making it up. And Hillary Clinton
Or
and the
for like
same
Sonny's
group,
leotards or something.
made a very similar comment. These big government egalitarians are
You're right, and the shooting
so
was fake.
into the redistribution of wealth and controlling the marketplace of ideas that they want to silence ideas with which they disagree. Each of them, several
Just a hunch,
times
man.
in
I'm
their
just going on a
lives,
hunch.
Kerry, when he was in the House of Representatives and then in the Senate.
And it'd be
Mrs.
very
Clinton,
easy to
when she was
fake
in the
exactly
Senate,
how they
and then
faked
when
it.
she became Secretary of State, took the same oath I did when I became a judge to preserve, protect, and
And the
defend
same person that took the
Constitution,
photo, the alleged photo of him getting shot at the streak, is the same person that took the photo of him in Florida when Bush was notified of the terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001.
and the public has the right
So it's
to
like,
challenge the government, to expose the
it's just
government.
too much, man.
And that can't
The
be
same
done without
photographer.
free speech.
1 year was in fucking
Free speech
Florida.
is dead in this country.
Next
You know,
year in
peace is a
fucking
dirty
Pennsylvania.
word. You're not allowed to talk about it.
Who
You're
goes to
banned
rural
from all the
Pennsylvania?
mainstream media. If you don't support war,
Who would choose to do that?
you're banned. You're not allowed to come out against the government. Look what's going on in front of our eyes. Gaza
I drove through all rural Pennsylvania,
the latest data
west
that
and
came out,
east.
50,000 young
No
children
way, come on, bro. Come on,
in
bro.
Gaza will be without
$50 framed. Wow, that's pretty cool.
And now it's bombs away over
cool.
Beirut, bombs away
Oh, the
across Lebanon.
actual canvas of the
Netanyahu came out and
ground?
said,
Come
We're
on.
going to do the same
That's
thing
gross.
we did in Gaza as we're
Who
gonna
wants a
do it
piece of the
in
canvas?
Lebanon.
That's gross, dude.
Where is the outrage?
Ew.
Where is the end? Where
Come
is
on,
the-
dude.
it- and all of these
The
politicians,
fucking like sweat
all
and
they
shit.
want to
Like,
do
come
is
on.
keep ramping up the
Spit.
wars.
Right,
Come on.
right. All those children
Ew.
without parents
That's gross.
Thank Joe
That's
Biden.
gross, man. I don't want
because
that.
the American government is paying for that war.
As stealing
gross,
our
dude.
taxpayer money.
Correct. Correct.
You know, it's a crime syndicate
Just
that
connect
people
the
call
cameras
the
on Trump's
government.
body.
and it's barely
Showing
being
me the full
reported in
master from the other
mainstream
folks.
media. Yesterday, these were the top stories on the front page of CNN, which I call the Cartoon News Network. Florida highways are clogged as Hurricane Milton closes in. Trump secretly sent Putin multiple COVID test machines for his personal use. Now Harris could secure a historic winning record for Democrats and still lose. America's French fry king sounds alarm. Yeah. Look at it. Look at it.
Complete with the addition of online multiplayer.
America's French
Bro,
Fry King sounds an alarm. Well, Gerald,
get the fuck out of
most
here.
of the public is more interested in that than they are in the use of their tax dollars to slaughter
Bro.
innocents.
This is it is horrible what's going on, and now it came out today that the United States is
Don't lie to me, Catherine. Don't do that. Don't do it to me.
attacking Iran.
Well,
If that happens,
Lindsey Graham and John Bolton have both argued in favor of the U.S. attacking
Addition of
the Iranian
online
nuclear
multiplayer.
capabilities and the Iranian oil refineries. Go ahead, attack the Iranian oil refineries, and gasoline in this country will become $10 a gallon in about 2 weeks.
You got it. And that'll crash the global economy and the equity markets.
Correct.
Which is why we're saying that gold is the #1 safe haven asset, even though prices are down.
Free trial?
It's only about
Bro,
$2,610.
you can get a free trial for 7 days, dude.
$600 since we made
What?
the forecast at the beginning
Bro.
of the year, the golden year for gold. But gold is going to be worthless when it's nuclear annihilation. And that's what we're on the
You should
cusp
get the
of.
trial at
And
some
people
point.
just-
That's my suggestion.
Judge, I got to tell you this. You know me and you. I like to go to beautiful places to get my mind out of the.
What's the
from what I
cancel
gotta
by the
watch
end of the
every
free
day.
trial? You'll be enrolled in automatic community
And
membership.
I go to this place. It's called the Clock.
No expansion pack.
It's up in Hudson.
You will be
It costs like
charged
$20 million
$5
to
every
It's on about
30
140
days.
acres, a beautiful
1 month
distillery.
is
And
3
so
months.
People with money.
Dude, a year is 25
Talk to
bucks.
them. They don't have a
That's
clue
American, I
what's going
think.
on. Do you know
No,
the people
CA.
that know more about what's going on? I host an hour
Oh,
every week
plus
on Alex
expansion
Jones.
pack individual
And I run
membership.
into
You might
people,
need this. What is
The
this?
people that watch that stuff.
The fuck's
Oh, that's a
expansion
very
pack?
engaged audience.
Exactly. And now what are they doing?
Oh,
They're
come on,
throwing them
man.
off the air.
Yeah.
The people, I'm telling you, I try to go to the best places. And you get in conversations sitting at a bar. People have no clue of what's going on, and all they do is repeat what's being told to them. I remember my father, may he rest in peace, when I started to get upset when he got upset with me. I'd start repeating what I heard on the media. And he said to me in Italian, Papagallo, parrot.
You
Stop
might need to buy the
repeating what
expansion
everybody
pack
else
for
is
the
saying.
year,
Think
dude.
for yourself.
He called you Papagallo.
Papagallo.
It's like 70 bucks, bro.
Yeah. Parrot.
What the fuck?
He said that to me several times, and I realized that any time I said something, I better have the facts to
That's
back
why
it
you're
up.
not hyped, because you're not sure if you're gonna spend
All I
70
hear
bucks
from
on it. I
people
get it now, bro.
are
I understand
parrots.
it now.
They're repeating exactly
I understand
what
you
the
if you don't want to spend
mainstream
70 bucks on
media is telling
fucking
them to
Perfect
spend.
Dark in the year 2024.
You've had some great guests on lately. What are they saying about what's going on?
Well, I've asked everybody this week as an opening question, what is the state of the Middle East after 366 days of war? Then I've asked them, is Israel stronger and more stable, or weaker and less stable? And they've all said that Israel is its own worst enemy. Its economy is just a skosh above junk bond. Small businesses have closed. They can't get investment, and the military is exhausted, and Netanyahu wants to start another war. They've also argued that Israel's neighbors have had enough, and there may soon be more retaliation that Israel, even backed by the United States, can resist.
You know, everybody, by the way, you got to go to what the judges show, Judging Freedom. The guests that he has on, there's nobody like them. And they're saying things that you're not going to hear anywhere else. And you just heard the judge how, you know, this guy's a top cat when it comes to communications, how to do it, asking the questions that mean so much that mean nothing to the mainstream media. So go to Judging Freedom, judgingfreedom.com, and you really get the information that you need to know, because we are in the most perilous times of my lifetime. There's nothing like this. And I was a kid, by the way, during the Cuban Missile Crisis. I was in high school. This is nothing. That was nothing compared to what's going on now.
Right.
And if we don't stop it, it's going to be hell on earth. You know, the cover of this week's magazine, we think says a lot.
Yes, it does.
In the Bible, Matthew 5:9, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. I say hellish are warmonger politicians, for they are the children of Satan.
I do not. Okay, I'm gonna unpin it, but I get it, bro. I totally get it now. I get it. Oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, dude. I didn't mean to delete your message. How do I undelete your message? It's fine. I meant to unpin it, bro. Are you planning to make levels? Or are you planning to play levels that are made in Mario Maker? You might get me hooked on it too, man. Want to play custom levels on the story mode? Oh wow, story mode. Yeah, that'd be sick.
Using property unintended the way it's supposed to be used.
Fucking perfect, man.
Dude, you made that so much better. That was incredible. Angle up here for that one.
Oh, I'll give you a hug.
Big sweaty hug. Oh, Maya. Yeah, Maya. Yeah, Maya. Yeah, Maya. Yes. Yes, Maya.
With the baby.
Clapping.
With the baby.
man. It's seen better days.
The monster hand, yeah.
That guy from the on perimeter.
Oh.
Who's that? Who's that guy? What?
I'm never coming back here ever again. Why not? Too old to help. I'm tired I am, bro. It sucks. I can't see. I'm losing my eyesight. Fucking old.
They're just fucking waiting. I hate that shit, man.
Mate, what's this? What's this? What are you doing?
Potentially going home at 2:42 without a trip. It's pretty fucked, bro. Alright, $100 if I don't try. 50 if I land it.
Come on, man.
I can flinders in your 30s, eh? It's not all what it cracks up to be.
Nah, you're in the shadow. Right, let's get that fucker in the sun. Alright, bend over, bend over.
Fuck you.
Yes. Yo.
Fucking Kamala here. AI Kamala. That's exactly what she would say to fucking piece of shit.
They killed my buzz so hard. I was like, can I get a box though? They sell boxes there. They don't sell boxes! I was like, oh, you can grab a warm one that's out. And I was like, you mother.
God, they actually gave a plan. First, we'll cut taxes for the middle class. Boom. Strong energy policy to unleash American production 6 to 12 months. Also, we'll trim regulation make businesses. What? Bro. What the fuck? Sometimes it gives some sick info, dude. Bro. What?
Fucking going for that one.
You went for it, dude. That was good. You're doing that. Oh my god. Lost it just like landing on the sidewalk.
I was not landing it, eh? I was like, fuck.
You're like, boom, off the curb.
Fucking rail.
Oh, damn.
I'm so sorry, guys.
Dude, that was sick.
I think that's what it was. I just don't think I could have enough time. Just two more and I'll be done.
Dude, I'm trying to be a nice guy. There's no skateboarding up here. You guys are trespassing.
I'm here
This
for
is a church. This is a
Yeah,
church.
I
and
understand
this
that.
is, this is not what goes on here.
It's fine, right?
I go to this church. It's disrespectful.
It's just the parking.
Oh.
If I don't fucking try this one, for fuck's sake. Right it. Fucking right it. Right it.
I think he wants more.
You might be famous.
Next one. Good save.
Yes, lad.
Go, dude.
That was it. Fucking damn it, I fucking hate this wrestler. Fuck him up. You okay?
You alright?
Dude, I still got no reason, no.
You fucking fuck yes!
AI is destroying us today, dude. Like, we've been roasted. Like, I've been roasted at least 3 times.
That nigga spit around on y'all ugly ass motherfucker. You ugly, you ugly, you ugly, you ugly. Fuck him up, bitch ugly. Come here, boy.
Kinda wish this video part was just raw, not this music. Skate parks usually have terrible music. Just absolutely terrible music. I might have to mute it. You know what? We're gonna watch it on silent. That was nice. That was pretty cool. What was that nose grind to sex change? That's pretty sick. There's no way he's dropping it on that. There's no fucking way, bro. There's no way. Holy shit. That was crazy. I kinda wish it wasn't slow motion though. Oh, look at you. Oh. That was sweet. Holy shit, dude. Wow, insane. I wonder if that was a switch backside flip. I always wonder that. Because, I mean, they're landing switch, if not, or fakie. But man, when it's like that, you'd think if they can do the switch and you roll away like regular. Damn, dude. Is that Miami? It looks like Miami. Holy shit. That was really fucking high. Yeah, it looks like Miami, dude. Wow, insane. This video is amazing. The hug. That is pretty scary though. I was from like the fucking second floor. That was crazy. Wow, that was the middle part too, dude. This video is gonna be insane. Wow, that was insane. That's cool. I might be able to do that. Not that. Well, yeah, I can do that maybe. I can't do that. The blunt bonk 180 out, was it? Or the nose grind 180 out? Or nose grind fakie? Dude, this filmer's sick. Like, films the face, and then films the body and the board. It's cool. I like it. I like that. I like it. That was cool. That was insane. So he films the face. It's cool. It gives them like a persona with a name. And they're good. The weed, you gotta smoke the weed. Speaking of which, I think I'm gonna start. Oh my god. Wow, this video is halfway through. Bro, dude, this video is amazing. Maybe I'm just high.
actually came out here to get some of these fragments looked at with an electron scanning microscope.
Wow. And we had a couple of fragments with like the tubular drill, but in general, they're very clean. Like there's just nothing there.
I think probably the first step you're gonna do is, if you can moved into one of those periods right now, you're not gonna survive it. Like we have this image because of the dinosaur event. After we get out of the bombardment period, then things have time to settle down.
That's incredible.
I am pumped to have you guys here, so this is going to be awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. I love what you've done with the place for sure.
Yeah.
It's different.
It's come a long way.
Yeah.
It has.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done a lot to it, for sure. Yeah, a bunch of new vases that I want to show you guys today, so it's going to be exciting.
I can't wait.
The coolest thing about having both you guys on the show at the same time is that we've got the number one we've got the number one short that's ever been on the Limitless before. So yeah, so major on the short, because everybody loves Russ and your voice and talking about the moon.
The moon, that's what it is.
Yeah, people love talking about the moon. And then Ben coming back, as this is actually the 1 year anniversary from when we recorded our first episode.
It's literally to the day, right? It's
wow.
Yeah.
Congrats,
1 year.
bro.
So, yeah, well, congrats to you. It's come a long way. I mean, we weren't in this studio. You've grown the channel from zip. It's great. You've had a fantastic list of guests coming on, and I know you're going to get some pretty epic guests in the near future.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. The growth has been insane and fun, and like people are just like, hell yeah, I want to come on. Yeah, I think it's just the bases for the most part. People just want to see bases, but whatever, man.
It's worth it if you're out there and you get the invite.
Yeah.
The vases are incredible. It's a super privilege. I mean, I say it all the time. Like you're the guy that I've always wanted to be able to handle complete vases, and you were the guy that made that happen. And you've just got such an incredible collection now. I mean, these are phenomenal artifacts. So, yeah, it's just really cool to get to see them as well. And obviously, they make a good backdrop.
Yeah, it's good decor.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, so we'll talk about some of those today. I got some new ones that neither of you guys have seen today. So since the last time you've been here, so that's pretty cool. We'll dive into a couple of those. You guys have some fragments. You want to talk to me about your fragments?
Yeah, we actually came out here to get some of these fragments looked at with an electron scanning microscope.
Right.
Someone reached out to Ben. Max reached out to him and was like, "Hey, I have access to this equipment, and I'd like to see some of these faces. Look at the tool marks, under this magnification." And so we came down here to do that and brought these pieces. And it was a very, very interesting experience.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I feel like there might have been, I think, LAH, the Laboratory of Alternative History, the Russian channel, if you know those guys. I know they've investigated this topic before. I don't know if they used a scanning electron microscope. I might be wrong, but as far as I know, this sort of hasn't been done in the academic world. I'm not sure how much interest there has been in looking at things like tool marks under a scanning electron microscope, particularly these precision fragments. And the nice thing that you can, what we're looking for under an SEM device is a couple different things. So you can find, like, even at these sort of micron levels, you will see polishing marks and tool marks. And we had a couple of fragments with like the tubular drill, remnants on it. You see that's quite common. I know it's in some of your vessels, vases, the dishes. We saw a dish earlier that has that tubular drill center mark. And so we have a couple of pieces that have like that little piece in there. So, looking down at that, what you want to try and see is like, well, is there any metal or any material still at that micron level?
How sharply the polls have shifted in Trump? Have you noticed how sharply the polls have shifted in Trump's favor over the last couple weeks? With these claims that Trump is surging with black and Latino voters and leading in every single swing state, according to secret internal polls, despite all the Hitler talk. Yes, this race will be far too close. Because unfortunately, we do have a fascist groundswell in parts of this country, mainly among white men, let's be clear. but in small pockets among black and brown men, too. This happens to be a global phenomenon as women become more economically independent and seek positions of power. Have you noticed how sharp...
wedged inside those marks, and that's because that's what happens as a process of machining. It's going to leave behind little traces of metal, and you can look at it and see, well, okay, you know, and a scanning electron microscope gives you a readout of the basically the elemental composition of the material you're looking at. So just looking at like the granodiorite or the, you know, limestone or whatever the material is, you're going to get back, you know, what is it, silicon and calcium.
Calcium, a little bit of
aluminum, things like that, the natural composites in the stone. But like metals and, you know, charged parts of the stone will show up in the backscatter display on the SEM, so you can sort of zone in on these bright spots and basically look at it and then try and test it and see what it is. And we found, you know, there were a few takeaways from it. I would probably preface this by saying, I mean, this, first of all, these samples weren't ever really collected, or we, you know, these weren't something that was picked up with the intent of ever doing this type of work. If you were to collect samples with the intent of looking at them under an SEM, you would probably treat them a little bit differently. You know, handling them can contaminate them, things like that. But surprisingly, you know, and these are preliminary results. One of the big takeaways was that these were just remarkably clean. You know, there really wasn't any, and we did find a few bits of different metals, which was really interesting, the ones that we found and the ones that we didn't find. But in general, over a few days of looking, and it really is like a needle in a haystack situation. It's not, this hasn't been comprehensively looked at just yet, but it's, you know, you're looking at that very small scale. You could spend days looking at like a single piece, just looking around at it and trying to analyze different parts of it. But in general, they're very clean. Like there's just nothing there most of the time. Like you're seeing very clean response. There's no contamination. And you know, the Max, who's you know, he's a physicist, used to teach physics at was it Penn State?
Penn State, yeah.
He left the academic world to pursue his own interests. He has a master's, a PhD. I think his PhD is in ultrasonics. He has an ultrasonic setup in a laboratory at his place, and he thinks that just that lack of any real metal or anything at all in a lot of these grooves might be indication that it wasn't really a mechanical polishing or machining process that was used. It might have been something like ultrasonics, because I mean, that's a process we use today. You take very hard stone, things like diamonds and rings, to a jeweler, and you put them through an ultrasonic cleaning process, and it's going to clean and polish that jewelry right up. And it's not like it's mechanically being touched by something. It's a fluid that's doing
it's vibration through the fluid that like just cleans it, washes it basically. And so if the same process was happening, you know, ultrasonic, you have a tool, but the tool itself is just to carry the vibration into the liquid or the slurry that you're using to actually do the work.
Yeah.
Right. So the tool itself, if whatever it's made of, you know, iron, copper, titanium, it isn't actually making contact with the material that you're cutting, because it's the slurry that's doing that, and the slurry is constantly moving, washing through. Right.
Yeah.
The tool itself is just vibrating.
It's the tool carries the vibration, and it doesn't actually make contact. You know, if you're doing it right. This is the first piece we put under the microscope, and if you see that one has, you can see there's a curve there. That's part of the original coring out of the block of material to make the vase. The tool.
That's the base of it.
That's
right there
the bottom, and then that curved line is the remnant of the coring, and so that's the first thing we looked at, was we were following that curve to see, like, is there, you know, because the standard model tells us it was a copper tube with sand and they were grinding.
Yeah.
So we should have found bits of copper tiny bits of copper caught in the middle of the crystalline matrix of the stone itself.
Sure.
And there's nothing.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that was a big takeaway from all of the pieces that we looked at, and it's just like literally zero copper.
There's no copper
No.
in any of the samples.
And that's the explanation, right?
Well, it's copper or flint or other materials, but you know, even if it was flint or another type of stone, you would expect to see that as as bits and pieces, little bits wedged into the stone, and maybe a slightly different elemental composition of that stone. We didn't see that, and we didn't see any copper at all.
Wow.
And we did find a few other metals in little spots, and I guess we'll get to that in a little bit. But it was, I think those were the main takeaways. And again, this is preliminary work. Like it was kind of let's test this to see if it is an avenue that's worth pursuing in more detail. I think it definitely is based on the results that we've gotten so far. But it's very preliminary at this point. But those were a couple of key kind of takeaways, I'd say. First of all, just no copper, none whatsoever, and this sort of cleanliness and lack of contamination of anything on most of these samples, which might be suggestive of a non-mechanical process. I mean, you talk about ultrasonics. Like in Max's ultrasonics rig, he has, he's got this titanium rod that's like this round, and it shapes itself down to about like a half-inch bar, and that's what he's using that in an oil, I think, to do ultrasonic processes on other materials. And you can literally see the bottom of this titanium bar has been worn away. Like it's just that's just from the action and that ultrasonic kind of also working on the bar itself. So I have some pictures of that, but it's like that does work as a process, and it was really interesting not to find anything. I was we did on one of the pieces a quartz piece that also had a tubular drill cut on the bottom. This is like a rock crystal vessel, and I will say this also that these vessels, we know that they definitely are ancient Egyptian pieces. They've come from private collectors in Egypt and elsewhere that have been sort of given to us for the purposes of this type of investigation, looking at a bit more closely.
Directly from the step pyramid.
Yeah,
right?
a couple. We know that several of them have come from beneath the step pyramid. 100%. Like that's.
So the provenance is undeniable, undisputable that these are ancient, that these were. Yeah, and so
they match all the different. I mean, you can match it up
100%. These are very similar to the ones that you'll see in this room in my collection. I mean, this is absolutely beautiful. You can see the tapering that's coming up off of the base of the thing. How it's just perfect. The smoothness is almost like it's been polished. I mean, the outside has obviously been polished incredibly well. You can see just a couple of tool marks on the inside, but I wonder, just like, so impeccable provenance. You guys have looked at these under a microscope, and you're seeing very little signs of any material that's been embedded into these.
Right, on most of them were very clean. Again, not comprehensively looked at.
Okay.
It is a needle in a haystack situation at the micron level, even with a piece like that size. Like you could spend days looking at it.
Days.
So how much? Right, because you're looking at just one tiny little
I mean,
little piece.
literally the smallest level of magnification is you're looking at an image that might be 2 or 3 millimeters across,
right?
And you can't see a lot from there. You've got to like zoom in, and at the highest level of magnification, I mean, you're down at the 10 micron kind of scale,
right?
Or 50 micron, which is 50 thousandths of a millimeter.
Yeah,
and you can see little objects and parts of it that are just a couple microns. It's very, it's extremely high resolution, and it's. Yeah, so the other, you talk about the machining, so that was also a takeaway, just looking at the surface. I mean, you do at that level, you will see the polishing marks and the whatever process has been used to actually finish the stone. And that was another takeaway from Max, just saying like how flat and how well done that was. Like at one point we did stick like a copper bar in the SEM, and to the touch, and this copper, it's like a piece like this that's like a half-inch round. And it seemed smooth on top, like it had been cut off, but under that electron microscope, it's just these jagged peaks, where this thing had been cut through
with a saw.
With a saw, and you can compare that to these, these very finely worked surfaces with very fine lines, like just orders of magnitude more precise, and just less variation in it. So these are very fine. So you can feel that to the touch, but it's nice to look at it under that microscope. And Max did comment that this is very well machined. Whatever process was used to do it is extremely well made.
If these fragments have been at the bottom of the step pyramid for since 2650 BC or so, and earlier potentially. So, but they were the place was excavated in the early part of the 20th century, so like 1925, 1927. Jean-Philippe Ployer goes in and finds a bunch of the fragments. Now there's a whole group of people before him that was excavating.
Exactly.
That we don't know why they didn't find anything, and if they did find stuff, where did it go?
Right.
So that's the whole thing. But I guess my question is, how much of the smoothness and the lack of material that you're seeing, at least on the initial scans, and I get it, there's a lot more work to do and a lot more to look at from additional scans, but how much of the lack of material and the smoothness and of these fragments or these artifacts could be explained by people rubbing on them and handling them over time, potentially thousands of years?
You want to take that, or I can go?
I mean, it could be, but we don't. The first thing I would say is we don't know how old they actually are, right? I mean, if they're really old, then yes, I guess age would polish them as well. But we do see tool marks, you know, and they haven't been completely worn away, but at the same time, they've been buried. So, and then, you know, some of these sections that are in the step pyramid are still being excavated, and some of these fragments are coming from the parts that haven't been excavated yet or have just been excavated.
Yeah, and in terms of cleaning it, I mean, you are talking, and this is where the small fragments of different metals and materials that we found were quite interesting, because, you know, they were properly, you could see it with the topographical display on the SEM that these are wedged in, you know, between like the components of the rock itself. Like these, it's not like it's a speck of something sitting on there and resting on there that would fall off. You know, these are parts of a tool that's working on that surface that it seems like it's something has, you know, it's taken a tiny sliver or piece of that and it's wedged it into the rock. And that's what we found when we did find a couple of different anomalies. So I mean, there was a quartz piece that had a tool mark, and looking in that tool mark, we found traces of a couple of different metals, just in like very odd spots. We found tin, zinc, and iron. Iron and titanium. I think that was it, right? Yeah. So, and then there was another piece where we found iron and titanium, which was really interesting. Now, it's a complex thing, right? So iron and titanium I mean, they can exist naturally in rock. You know, typically it's, well, always really, it's in the form of an oxide, so iron oxide or titanium dioxide. You know, that's the material that exists naturally, and you have to refine that to get like the actual base metal out. And we definitely found some sections of this type of stone where you have, you know, iron oxide was in it. Like, so it's probably naturally present in that part of the stone where you see, so you get a return on the spectrograph on the electron microscope. You're seeing Fe and iron and O for oxygen. So you're seeing these spikes of the elemental composition, along with, you know, silica, aluminum, the other parts of the natural makeup of the stone. However, in some places, in these little specks that correlated with what looked like a speck or a shape of material that in some cases might be 5 microns across. One we found was like 40 or 50 microns across. Yeah. That had shape to it. It looked like, and you could see it. And I can show you images of it. That looked like it's something that's sort of actually in the rock. You know, we found just titanium, and that doesn't really exist naturally. So we weren't seeing a return on the oxygen. It's you're getting titanium, and then you're getting titanium and iron without oxygen. So potentially, I don't know, it could be an alloy.
Some kind of alloy, yeah.
So, you know, really sort of interesting result. Again, bears more investigation. Finding one spot of tin or a couple little spots of tin was interesting. I immediately thought of, well, you know, because it's copper and tin is bronze. And of course, in the Old Kingdom, 3rd dynasty, they weren't supposed to have had bronze at that point. But we just found no copper at all. So this is just straight tin. Also, zinc was an interesting one to see show up in a couple of little tiny spots. Like it's, you know, Russ was saying, you know, your mind goes towards batteries.
Yeah, you start thinking about batteries.
Right.
So, yeah, I think the results are interesting. I don't know quite what to make of it just yet. I do want to emphasize my key takeaways from this are the cleanliness and the lack of any real evidence for machining. And again, I want to compare it to say a piece of stone that's been worked. Let's get a piece of stone and get a copper bar and try and work it with sand and then look at that and see what should you see if that's the process. I'd like to compare it against other natural bits of stone from that area as well. So you've got this comparative thing to look at. But the real key takeaways for me were how clean they were, the lack of any real evidence, only other than a couple of little spots which I'm not sure what it indicates just yet, and then the lack of copper was the big one as well, like just zero copper the entire time.
And with the zinc and the tin specifically, they were so we were looking at areas where you could see groups of tool marks, like long parallel lines that would be, you know, like very tiny tool marks, something that's completely invisible when you're just looking at the thing. And then the tin,
were parallel. They were.
Yeah, they're like, you know, running alongside each other. right? And then there's, at the end of one of those lines, there's this little splinter of bright metal. You can see it on the screen, jammed in. Looks like it's jammed into the end of the mark. And then you know, we focus on that, have the microscope give us a return on it, and it shows up as tin. And you're like, okay, it looks like a fragment of tin got jammed into the end of this tool mark, you know, as the tool is coming off working the stone, or it hits a harder piece and stops cutting, and the tin breaks off, or something like that, you know. And the same with the titanium. The titanium, it looked like a squarish bit that had gotten jammed into a natural area full of rougher crystals, like it had dug a little deeper there and then got caught at the edge of that particular section of material and broke off.
This is the piece that I'll just pause it. You can see this is, and you can see the scale. I think it's 100 microns at the top there.
And 100 microns is what?
It's 100,000, so it's a 0.1 of a millimeter.
Yeah. 100 microns is 0.1 millimeter?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So a tenth of a millimeter.
So 1,000 microns is 1 millimeter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's the scale with that yellow bar. So that bar represents basically a tenth of a millimeter. So the part we're looking at here, and so you have a couple of displays. And this little crosshair, yellow crosshair, represents where you're sampling the stone. So you're getting this backscatter reading from the electron microscope that gives you these images, and then you can kind of target a beam of electrons to look at getting a return of elemental composition. So what elements in the periodic table make up the material that you're looking at, and it's really this thing here. It's like this almost square-looking piece. It actually lights up and looks different. It's like it's snapped off. It's embedded in the stone.
It's jagged on the bottom edge, square on the other three edges, and it looks like it's got a hole through the middle of it. You know.
Yeah. And so when you hit it with this crosshair, you're basically sending a bunch of electrons in it, and it's reflecting back, and it's getting a reading of what it looks like on the O2 table. So you're seeing some silicon. So this is the
calcium,
silicon,
a
calcium,
little bit of aluminum,
but we're getting
watch the
titanium is coming back.
Yeah.
Which is Ti.
Yeah.
And very little in the way of a little tiny bit of oxygen. And it takes a while to build it up, and you can try in different spots. So this is the work. In general, you can, all these different peaks on this readout correlate to different elements. And so sampling the bit in the middle.
There's no titanium.
There's no titanium on that bit in the
so
middle.
So it is a
around
hole through it into the crystalline material of the stone itself.
So this is a typical kind of response you'd get from just that type of diorite. We saw this all day long. Aluminum, silicon, calcium.
Yeah.
That's pretty much
and
the
a
makeup of a little bit of oxygen. That's the makeup of the diorite, I suppose, or whatever it is, a granite that's very similar. The limestone piece maybe looked a little different.
Yeah, the limestone, it had some magnesium and yeah.
Just explain to people, and hopefully, Ryan, we can get a shot of a couple of these fragments, but just how beautiful these actually are, and the polish that's involved on these fragments. I mean, these are very similar to a lot of the precision pieces that I have there. There you go.
But yeah,
the polish is amazing. You can tell how big this piece here would be based on the kind of the curvature of it.
Oh, with the one you had there, yeah.
It's a big piece, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
You're talking about a huge piece of stone right here, and very thin, and the tapering is like perfect. I mean, it gets more thin around the edge just a bit, and it kind of gets a bit thicker where it needs to be thicker. It's got tool marks. It's just absolutely stunning. It's incredible to see something directly from the step pyramid that has this level of polish, and just like symmetry and just perfection of arc and work. So it makes me feel better about a lot of this stuff
Yeah.
I have here.
I mean,
it's very similar.
Yeah, it is, and I do like these samples because they show you a lot of interesting aspects that's gone into the shaping and design, I guess, and machining of these vessels. This one in particular I like. It's very thin, but like you said, the tapering is really important. Like that's difficult to achieve. Like this going from thick to thin to thin to thin, and yeah, it'd be great to like if you have even the calipers to measure this little spot in between here. I'm guessing it's a couple of millimeters.
Yeah, here we go, folks.
Yeah,
this is what this is all about, right
I
here.
did want to measure this actually. The thinness of this piece, which it's translucent. So what do you do? Clamp this over.
That we did in Danville with the Duns, except it's not on a mounted.
Let's Let's see, it's right-handed tool, of course. This in what, millimeters, inches?
You can change it.
No.
I'm not sure what it's set to now, but you just squeeze the part on the top and it opens up.
No, I'm just saying, what's the readout here? It's inches, so yeah, 0.128 inches. Is there a way to set this to metric so I can?
It's one of those buttons on the bottom.
Mode. Let's see, data. Inch. Mode.
No, let me take a look.
So 0.1, I mean, I don't know. I can't do that in my head. Oh, there you go. So yeah, so 3.2 millimeters. So that's about what I was expecting. I thought this was somewhere between 3 and 4 millimeters thick. So yeah, so it tapers from a thicker piece that might be 5 or 6, and it just tapers down on an edge to the finest part of it, which is right beneath the lip of this piece. And you're also seeing the curvature of it with this.
That's the thinnest fragment we've got, right?
This is the thinnest fragment. Yeah.
God, it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
And this other one is similar. The tapering is more pronounced on this. Here you go. This one.
The two samples we left with Max are the ones that had the most anomalies in them, and he's going to do a more comprehensive, study of them. And so we'll get back in touch with him. I guess he'll let us know once he's done more stuff. And
yeah,
because some of these we found no metal.
Yeah, nothing.
Like nothing.
Most of them, nothing.
Yeah, like
right.
this one. This one in particular, like it just had nothing. This one too with the core drill in it the first one we looked at. Obviously we didn't comprehensively scan the entire piece, but there was just nothing. Cruising back and forth across the piece in a little bit randomly.
Ryan, do 0.115. See what that comes out to.
Thank you.
Inches.
0.115. 2.9, so like almost
less
3.
than just under 3 millimeters.
Yeah, which is like the thin wall bases. Like it's 2 millimeters at the thinnest point and 4 of the rest of it. So
crazy. Yeah,
it's right there.
And that's quite remarkable. I mean, and that's you can see that machining prowess in Russ's piece. You talked about that, the crack. Like we thought that's a crack in that thing, but it's looking at it under the microscope. It's actually not. It's a natural vein or a weakness in the material. It's not. It hasn't been glued back together, but they somehow machined this piece anyway.
Yeah.
And evidently, it held. Like that's.
I thought. I mean, this looks like a continuous break all the way across. But when we looked under the microscope, it's not completely continuous, right? But it is a fracture that goes through the material. And so I had thought, it was broken, and what, did they glue it back together in antiquity? Because, obviously this came from beneath the steppe period. It wasn't glued back together in modern times. So when we looked at it, we found this under the microscope, and it looked like a deep canyon, but broken up because parts of it were whole. But then in the canyon, it's like almost pure silica. It's like crisp quartz growth in there. So this fracture, which is a weakness in the stone, they managed to make this enormous bowl or whatever this originally was so thin, even with that kind of weakness in the material, and didn't break it.
Right.
It's astonishing.
And they must have finished the process because it's completely polished.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. This was broken after the process, of making it. Because it's not broken along the weakness.
Yeah, when I put a black light up to a couple of mine that have been repaired, you can see it shows where the glue is. And I put it up to this one. There's no glue at all.
There's no glue.
No glue. No, so that's incredible.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's it's interesting, and like we said, I would like to compare it to machined pieces of stone that have been machined with different, like might say modern machining, and primitive machining. It's like there's not a lot of conclusions we can draw about this just yet. It's very interesting. I think it's a direction to go in. I don't want to, I'm not jumping to conclusions about what this means, but it is kind of interesting, the fact that you see titanium, because titanium's wasn't used outside of laboratories until like the 1930s, and it was discovered even
1790 or something like that. Yeah, 1790, and not until 1930 or something like that was it made in large amount.
So it wasn't used to cut stone
Yeah.
in our past
until like the industrial age, basically. We started using it in the 20th century. Like it's outside of just like laboratory experiments to try and figure it out. It's so it's, you know, if you
there
just
should not be titanium jammed in.
Right. Yeah, there should. Well,
that's kind of the punchline.
There shouldn't be iron. There shouldn't be other materials either. If you just go with, okay, so let's say it's third dynasty. Even though you go to Saqqara, you go to the museum, they tell you that, you know, most of these vessels were probably recovered from earlier tombs, and they're already heirlooms because Joseph had collected them. But let's pin it at like kind of that early part of the Old Kingdom. I mean, just there's no iron. You know, I don't know about if there was tin or not. So they probably had they had copper about that, and that's about it. Like, there's just, you shouldn't be seeing some of these other things in that period, and that's always been my the aspect of these that I've looked at, along with the, you know, precision and the machining. It's like this doesn't match up with what should be the known capabilities of that civilization at that time, and yet we have other artifacts that do match those primitive capabilities. That's my whole Tale of Two Industries thing. I think you can see the result of those relatively primitive tools and techniques throughout dynastic Egypt, but alongside that exists some of these out of place artifacts like these that display just astonishing precision, machining, and this is why the vases are so important, is because they do go way back in time. Like, they're pinning some of these machining and precise sort of manufacturing techniques to a very early period of time. You see similar techniques in other artifacts, the boxes, the statues, some slabs, things like that. But we know that these vessels go way back in time to pre-dynastic times, like up to like 10+ thousand years ago. Like I often use Toshka as an example, as a site it's now underwater since the dam, the Aswan Dam was created. Some people get worked up about Toshka when I talk about it. I primarily use it as an outlier of an example in terms of dates. You can go to the Nubian Museum in Aswan and look at it, and you'll find pictures of a lot of those excavations in that area, including Toshka, that I think definitely show stone vessels. I mean, 100% there are stone vessels mixed in with these very primitive burials and, you know, poorly sort of made pottery vessels. And some of those pottery vessels and stone vessels you can see in museums. There's lots of sites that show that. They're 100%, and this isn't controversial at all, like stone vessels like these are known to be pre-dynastic. And then, you know, they kind of go into the first, second, third, fourth dynasty, and kind of stop after that, right? Everything after that switches over to alabaster with very few examples. And all that alabaster work is handmade. You can tell it's handmade. My personal opinion is I think it's something that Imhotep created as a method to try and imitate the stone vessels as best they could in a much softer stone, which is alabaster. He was a genius. He figured that out. That's actually literally what they say as well at that museum. They're like, hey, yeah, he was trying to figure out how they did this, and he came up with his method for alabaster construction, and then most of the vessels you see after that are alabaster. Beautiful, but you know, handmade.
And for anyone who's ever there in the Nubian Museum, it's off to the right in the annex, not in the main bot. We looked multiple, like, where we know this Toshka exhibit is in here somewhere, and we didn't see. And then finally we're like, let's check over here.
You thought they pulled it, probably.
Yeah, we thought it was gone. But then you go back into this annex section, like where it says basically that this is a temporary exhibit. So you think it's just whatever they have. But when we went in there, and there's a whole section on that area that was flooded with multiple photographs and all these details about the archaeological excavations that were done in preparation for that area to go underwater. And that's where we found the photos and lots of other ones showing what looks like, you know, I mean, obviously you can't 100% tell because you're looking at old photographs, but you can see like very primitive, like a burial, very primitive pottery and ceramic work or whatever. And then there's this beautiful dark stone vase in there with this primitive, all these other primitive artifacts, and you're like, wow, and this is supposed to be 13,000 years old.
Yeah, I've seen the image of the body curled up inside the tomb, and then it's got a couple of rounds, like, look what looks like faces next to the body.
Yeah, there's a lot of different photos in there.
That's the photo that's in the museum that you guys have referred to in the past.
And when we found that photo, there's a bunch of others around it where you see what, I mean, again, like I said, you can't 100% tell because it doesn't tell you like stone vases plus, right, you know, like clay vases. They just tell you like this was dug, it's burial number 8, right? That's exactly what you see. But it does in some of them. Some of the photos you're like, yes, that is that looks like a stone base.
Okay. So which out of those do you think is like the most convincing out of in that image? Or is there a better image, or is that kind of the...
There's better images.
There's better images, yeah.
Okay.
I do have it in my slide deck, but I'll see what I can do here to find.
And it's worth pointing out that you guys are aware that Hugh Newman announced at Cosmic Summit this year as a part of his presentation, and we just talked about a couple episodes ago, was those stone plates that were found at Karahan Tepe that are I mean, 12,000 years old at a minimum.
Yeah.
12,000 years old.
Yeah. Honestly, you also see artifacts like that from Turkey, like that are at least 9,000-10,000 years old. There's an obsidian, like a part of an obsidian bracelet that's 100% been turned and machined.
And obsidian is glassy.
Right.
Yeah, not going to be an easy material to turn.
Right. Yeah,
it's normally
it's flaked, right?
It's like most obsidian artifacts are made like arrowheads with flaking. Yeah, he's got it pulled up here.
Yeah, there you go. And so it's 100%. I mean, there's been a tribological analysis done on this piece, and it's you don't get that result with obsidian with flaking. I mean, it had to have been turned, and probably turned at a high rate of speed. There's also there's like almost vases and vessels from Turkey, the same thing. Yeah, that's 10,000 years old. Yeah.
So this 1300 BC lathe date is getting more and more ridiculous the more time goes on. I gotta give you a big shout out, Ben, for being kind of the person who spearheaded the revolution there with the lathe and kind of questioning when that actually was first used. You've done amazing work, and I think at this point everybody, even in the academic community, is kind of like, there's probably lathes before 1300 BC. So they're slowly changing their minds thanks to your work.
The goalposts have shifted a little bit when it comes to the discussion at time. Thank you. I can't take the credit for doing the work. I mean, Alex and Nick Sierra, and Adam Young. I mean, he was the one who really drove this in the first place. I feel I've been privileged enough to be able to document it and. As I tell those guys all the time, is look, if you had done this without me and you just published the results, I would have made videos and content about it anyway. But I was lucky enough to kind of be invited in to be part of it, and and I guess push it out. Just ancient technology. I guess that's become my patch that I play in a lot of the time. And it was a privilege to be part of it. But those guys that did the work and the analysis. Fantastic, and I give the credit to them. I know it's come out on my channel and stuff, and the part that I've enjoyed probably the most out of all of this is I think it's the return from the grassroots nature of this investigation, kind of open source investigation, right? We put it out there, a lot of people became interested. Mark Vist popped out as a cryptographer from I think he's Danish, and he did his work that was just, I think, mind-bending, right? Finding the radial traversal pattern in these things, finding the significant ratios, potentially finding the base unit value, particularly in that original base.
Thank you for being here, man. I'm done. I gotta go.
Got a PhD in access to scanning electron microscopes. That's all happened because we've been sharing these results and data out there into the public, and you find particularly interested people.
My
as a result of those videos, I think.
My 79-year-old father is celebrating 12 years working at the commissionaires.
I love that aspect of it. So happy to be part of it.
Which is like a government security. So we're going to celebrate 79 years old, and they're having like a public ceremony and reception and everything. So I'm really blessed. I'm really lucky. I'm a really lucky guy. He takes good care of his health and his family. I'm really blessed.
Samples that are then protected, like from contamination. We'll have to see about that. Obviously, you just don't go take stuff, right? But it's possible maybe to get some very small fragments with permission, and then get them looked at and have them be protected so that nobody's handling it. It doesn't get cleaned, it doesn't get washed or rinsed or anything, and then take it and look at it and see like what's on this without any basically trying to look at it.
Bro, Trump, why Trump? Come on, Trump.
That would be awesome. comparing.
So doing the comparison work to other stuff.
Comparison to rough stone of the same material. I mean, Ben, do we know where they got this stuff? I mean, where did they get this?
Yeah, so various different spots with quarries. Yeah, I don't know. That's one of the big questions about that in the pre-dynastic time. Is like there was such an array of semi-exotic stone types that came. From this area, it almost there's a whole problem around trade. Like you find things like there's a lapis lazuli tube that's in a pre-dynastic section in the Egyptian Museum next to bone and bead ornaments. With the gold tip on